Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Louise Houghton.
Hello and welcome to our highlight show. Let's power straight in with a look at what we have in store. Body and soul. Performance artists turn themselves into human sculptures. Music Mania. We bring you the glam rock at the World Air Guitar Championships. And city cinematography. Mons in Belgium is artistically documenting their streets. Richard Schechner is one of the leaders in performance studies. His theories lie in the concept that if one person is watching another, then there is a performance. Le Mouvement is the name of a performance art festival that took place in the Swiss city of Biel this August. One of the groups there didn't even move during their artistic displays, and yet spectators couldn't take their eyes off their creative forms.
Lin Yilin has been rolling through Biel for almost 2 hours. The Chinese performer is merciless with his own body. This group is quietly inhibiting the dynamic flow of pedestrian traffic. Everywhere, visitors to the city are confronted with the human form. Performers in the midst of Biel's public spaces. Living sculptures.
We want people to see our bodies moving in public urban space. We want people to come and really look at public space and see it differently with these bodies, with these dancing bodies, these moving bodies, these still bodies.
Sculptures made up of human bodies have been integrated into the city's architecture. They lead the eye of the beholder to places that usually don't attract much attention. Developed by Austrian choreographer Willi Dorner, the project is called Bodies in Urban Spaces.
Es geht mir darum,
For me, it's about finding positions that somehow seize your attention. And you need the power of humanity to do that. Calling attention to our very fragile bodies is also important to me. The human being who is on the one hand very flexible and able to adjust, juxtaposed with the hard, unyielding architecture of the city.
Dorner takes a playful approach to the urban world. He has a good eye for cityscape locations that can be turned into backdrops for friction and conflict. The choreographer set up the route the performance takes weeks ago. The final form a sculpture takes depends on the artistic abilities of the performers that Dorner has cast for each location.
The 8 performers at this location correspond to the 8 cubes. They're lying crosswise, diagonally to the stairs and the solidity of the cube, which is a very static element.
The choreographer rolled out the project for the first time 8 years ago. It has since appeared in many cities in Europe, the US, and Asia.
It took around 3 or 4 years, and during this time we fine-tuned the format and all its elements. That's why it took so much time. But now the work is finished and it can be performed in different urban contexts. I'd love to take it to China or Africa. That would be interesting. Maybe we will.
Afrika oder China gehen, das wäre auch noch interessant, oder vielleicht kommt das auch noch.
Living sculptures that disperse after just a few minutes and reappear in a new pose somewhere else. Groups of spectators follow the route through the city, seeing it with fresh eyes.
I find it very interesting because they are giving life to spaces that we normally don't pay attention to.
I find it very impressive because it blends into the city so well, although the clothes also make it very colorful.
I like the play on architecture, the buildings and shapes. Also the flexibility of the performers and the energy that it gives to the spectator.
Excerpts from 50 years of performance art on the streets of Biel. And when the performances blend seamlessly into the urban environment, the lines between art and everyday life vanish.
Well, from subtle performances like those to what some might think are crazy performances on stage. We were at the World Air Guitar Championships to see competitors giving it their all in the hopes of winning this year's title.
The best air guitarists from 16 countries are competing in Oulu, Finland for the title of world champion. Each of them has 60 seconds to impress the jury. A weird hobby, but very entertaining.
It's just nice here, really strange. I'm from Australia, so I've never seen it before. A fantastic event.
Shortly before the finale, the excited participants receive instructions on the stage and have a chance to rehearse. Sabrina Schramm is here representing Germany. This will be the 23-year-old's first international performance. She's brought along her parents and friends from Bavaria to support her.
Just now I was standing on the stage and saw how big it is and how many people the room will hold. I feel really queasy. I don't know what to do. But I'm also looking forward to it a bit. When the song starts, I'll forget my nervousness. I hope so anyway.
Schramm, alias Lady Liberty, is a rarity in the scene. Most air guitarists are male. Only 2 women have become world champion in the last 18 years. One of them is Alina Westphal from Germany, known as the Devil's Niece. She won the title in 2011. This year she'll perform in Oulu out of competition.
The inhibition threshold is very high in playing air guitar, and I think men have fewer problems overcoming their inhibitions. Women always want to look good and be pretty, and you simply can't when you play air guitar. You make weird faces. Your hair goes every which way, you scream, you stand in ludicrous positions. Lots of women say, I wouldn't dare do that, but that's exactly what's great about it. It's so liberating. It really clears your head.
Anyone hoping to be crowned world champion must exude charisma while imitating real guitar picking. Finnish rock guitarist Juha Torvinen has been on the jury since 1996.
Even though there are 5 different jurors, we're usually all in agreement about who should win. It's the same with the audience. It's hard to say what makes for a winner. It's not your standard competition with exacting criteria. It's just something you feel in your heart.
In the first round, the candidates perform songs they've prepared in advance. The jury awards them anywhere from 4 to 6 points. The best 10 make it into the second round, in which they all have to improvise to the same song. 2 Americans were seen as the favorites going in. Mean Moline from Kansas City is the defending champ, and New Yorker Aristotle thrills audiences with his comedic talent. Sabina Schramm gave it her all on stage and wound up in 9th place.
Cool. There's nothing else to say. It was great fun.
The biggest surprise of the night was 19-year-old Nanami Seven Seas Nagara from Japan. She won over the jury with her wild and technically accomplished performance. The new world champion received an electric guitar and amp as her prize. Like each year, the World Championship ended with Neil Young's song Rocking in the Free World. Then all the participants jam together for world peace.
And the winner there potentially enjoyed a celebratory drink. The thought of that brings us nicely onto the subject of wines. Which do you prefer? We know of white, red and rosé these days, but what about orange wine? This tipple is made from white grapes, but by using an old fermentation technique, you get this darker colour and distinctive taste. To learn more about the process, we visited the Gravner vineyard in Italy.
New white wines in deep, unusual colors have been dubbed by wine connoisseurs as orange wine or natural wine. The Italian winemaker Joschka Gravner is something of a pioneer in this field. But he finds the term orange rather misleading.
I don't call myself an orange winemaker. My wine is more amber-colored. It's lively and it shines. When a wine is a deep orange colour, it means it's on its way out. It has passed its best.
The Italian term is vini naturale, or natural wine. In the northeastern region of Friuli, Gravner grows traditional Ribolla Gialla grapes. He harvests only the best fruit and ferments the grapes without removing the skin, hence the unusual color.
Our profit from each vine is low. We pick the grapes very late, either in October or, weather permitting, in November. And then they are fermented in amphoras.
Gravner imports these vast handmade vessels known as amphoras from the Republic of Georgia in the Caucasus. He took delivery of his first ones 13 years ago. They are dug into the ground and the grape juice is kept inside for a year. Gravner learned the old-fashioned method from Georgian winemakers. He's determined to take a purist approach without the use of any state-of-the-art equipment.
In the amphora, the grape juice ferments without any additives. That is because they are made of clay and kept in the ground so the temperature remains constant. You don't need any fancy cooling because the conditions are already ideal.
In the restaurant La Subida in the nearby town of Mons, visitors often order orange wine. It's served at room temperature, mostly with meat or cheese.
I drink it with foie gras. They go very well together. I find the wine has a strong bouquet, but it's still dry.
I'd like to say it has a distinct aroma, but it's not for everyone.
Sommelier Michela Paiano has been keeping an eye on the orange wine trend for years. He even has Gravner's Ribolla in his wine cellar. In a wine shop, a bottle like this would cost between 35 and 70 euros. It's a niche product and has a percentage market share. Paiano says its quality is really improved.
They are white wines that are pressed like red wines. They are fermented with their skins, which creates a range of tastes, as if we were drinking white wine and red wine at the same time.
Gravner sells 60% of his wine in Italy and the rest around the world. After fermentation, the wine matures in wooden casks for 6 years. With natural wines gaining popularity, Gravner's daughter Mattea recently joined the family venture.
The more we talk about this wine, the more winemakers will go back to natural methods to make so-called natural wine. I think this is good for me and for wine growing.
These are new amphoras from Georgia. Joschka Gravner will use them to ferment the entire grape, including the seeds, just like they did in centuries past.
We're staying in southern Europe now as we head to a wonderful holiday destination. The Greek island of Rhodes is full of ancient ruins, especially in the old town on the north coast. It's certainly my favourite island out of those that I've visited. It's steeped in Greek mythology, has loads of fresh traditional food and drinks, and has a stunning coastline with more than 300 days of sunshine on record a year.
Mandraki Harbour in the city of Rhodes. Sculptures of Elafina and Elaphos, the Greek island's heraldic animals, welcoming incoming ships. In ancient times, Mandraki was home to the 30-meter-tall Colossus of Rhodes. In 227 BC, an earthquake destroyed the bronze statue, which depicted the sun god Apollo. Archaeologist Vasilis Karabatsos has lived on the island for more than 30 years. And for him, Rhodes is always a journey through history.
The Rhodians wanted the statue to be rebuilt. The envoy that they sent to the oracle of Apollo, Apollo Ilios apparently, in Delphi, was negative. The god did not want anything which was on the ground to be placed again. And so they left it as it was and continued to be a place for worship.
On a tour through the old town, the Street of the Knights leads to the palace of the Grand Master of the Order of St. John, built in the 14th century. The 4-kilometer-long city wall was built in the Middle Ages and is well preserved. In 1988, UNESCO declared the old town a World Heritage Site.
The city was divided in two sections, the Knights' Quarter and the area of the Burgensis, the citizens. After the occupation by the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent in 1522, the city was, the Rhodians were expelled, were outside forcibly. The citizens of Rhodes were coming in only at sunrise with the provisions, all kinds of products to sell and buy from the market area, and out again before sunset. That was it, for 400 years, to 1912, when the Italians reopened the gate.
Around 50 kilometers south of Rhodes City is the village of Lindos with its Acropolis. Its typically Greek architecture, manor houses, and small lanes attract about 3 million tourists a year. Lindos is under a monument protection order. Cars aren't allowed in the town center, but you're allowed to use a donkey.
It's a wonderful place. I think it's the most attractive place in Rhodes. It's just like a picture from the magazine when you went on vacation, and you'll see that over here. It's really beautiful.
Stereotype of Greece, I think.
Yeah, it is.
This is what I expected from it.
There are 3 small beaches at Lindos. The best is St. Paul's Bay, which is at the back of Lindos. Tsambika Beach is a bit less romantic, but it's great for long walks. If you're looking for something a bit quieter, the southern half of the island may be better suited to you. Perhaps after some sunbathing you'd like to cool off. So why not try Petaloudis, the Valley of the Butterflies? Between June and July there are also millions of moths because it's cool and damp. After the mating season, they fly back to the southern side of the island.
Lots of people, but it's still peaceful.
Peaceful, yes. And quiet.
Yes, and the moths. They are just so amazing.
This is one of the best things to see here in Rhodes. It's completely different from other things that you can see here because it's cool and it's a lot of butterflies.
You can see hundreds of butterflies here. If you have an eye for detail, you can discover more and more, and the kids think it's great.
Back in the city of Rhodes, just off the tourist trail, in the district of Neohori, is the Kokos restaurant. The chef, Jorge Tseligas, is preparing yovetsi, a Greek specialty. Lamb stew with onions, tomatoes, fresh olive oil, garlic, and rice noodles. The lamb needs to cook for around 40 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius in a traditional wood oven. This gives the meat a very special flavor. It's worth trying because Jovetsi has the typical flavor of the island of Rhodes.
Well, from Greece, we head to Mons in Belgium, as the city is already preparing to be a European capital of culture next year. The title gives Mons the chance to better establish itself and generate cultural, social and economic benefits. In 2015, they'll be hosting a vast number of projects and events based on Belgium and European culture. And one of these is an artistic alternative to Google Maps' Street View. We were there to see them film.
Mons in Belgium is putting itself on a new map. This time with the help of two French artists from the theatre group XTNT.
The purpose of the project is to create a map of Mons, which will be a European culture capital next year. So we're creating this map with a street view application. So we are going, filming, shooting 10 kilometers of the street with the inhabitants, which is very important, in an artistic set.
A 360-degree stop-motion camera captures the images. The actors for this scene are all local residents, including the police.
It's my town, so for me it's important, and we are having fun, so it's okay.
The artists in charge of Street Review specialize in attention-grabbing urban actions. These scenes represent a police chase of sorts. Once the action has been filmed, the team quickly moves on to the next installation. The director of the project has a certain message in mind.
The idea towards this project was, well, one day I was just Googling my street in Montreuil, close to Paris, and I was seeing how ugly it was, how ugly the people were, how it looked like a phantom city. And the more I looked into all these streets, the more I thought, but who does these streets belong to? They belong to the people. We're playing with the people. We're getting the people to come down the street and to express through different concepts, different ideas, their own feeling about how they should just represent their city in a more playful way.
Playful indeed. This action involves leaving the office behind and getting closer to nature. The results are somewhat surreal.
The idea is to fill up the city and try to get as much of the interesting parts of the city. Where you are, that's where I wanna be. So today we're going to do Rue Neuve, where the Beaux-Arts Museum of Mons is, and the name of the museum is the BAM.
The BAM will host 3 major exhibitions next year, including one by Dutch artist Vincent van Gogh. Today's urban action in front of the museum involves 2 groups: supporters of classic artists like Bruegel and Renoir and other famous names, and those who adore Andy Warhol. What looks like a confrontation is just an enthusiastic expression for art. While some of the local residents observe the action, others seem confused by what's going on. Mons will host some 300 projects as European Capital of Culture. Main destinations will be the Grand Place, the city's main square, and the Belfry Tower, a World Heritage Site. Mons dates back to the Middle Ages, but many of the current buildings were constructed between the 15th and 17th centuries. It's an easygoing town, steeped in history, but the city is eager to promote itself as a place which also embraces modern life. Back in front of the museum, the street view scenes are slowly gaining momentum. Ludovic, a former stage director, has to keep everyone focused on the action. Filming goes late into the evening, and when it's over, it will be on to the next scene that will help Mons put its stamp on European culture in 2015.
And I'm sure we'll be bringing you more from Mons in the coming year. Right now, though, it is time to say goodbye. So until I'm back in the studio again, take care of yourselves. And as we say here in Germany, tschüss.